For most of history, prices emerged from chaos, shaped by weather, war, scarcity, and desperate negotiation. Markets argued loudly, merchants haggled endlessly, and value shifted violently with every disrupted supply. Price was uncertain, unstable, and deeply local, varying wildly between regions and moments. Then London discovered something radical. Prices could be decided, not discovered. Britain understood empire required predictability, with an raw abundance of resources. Factories demanded stable inputs, investors demanded reliable forecasts, and governments demanded controlled inflation. Unstable prices threatened growth more than shortages ever could. So Britain began organizing uncertainty into systems that looked neutral, technical, and inevitable. London already controlled shipping, insurance, credit, and contracts across the trading world. The missing piece was authority over valuation itself. Whoever defined prices controlled profit, planning, and power simultaneously. Britain aimed not to own commodities, but to own their reference value. The solution emerged quietly inside London's financial institutions and merchant associations. Private meetings replaced open markets, and consensus replaced visible competition. Prices were agreed, recorded, published, and treated as objective truth. The world accepted them because London appeared calm, rational, and mathematically precise. Gold was among the first commodities, quietly centralized under British pricing authority. London traders fixed daily prices through closed-door discussions among elite market participants. These numbers traveled globally, guiding transactions everywhere without challenge. A miner in Africa worked for a price decided in a London room. Silver followed, then copper, tin, lead, and strategic industrial metals. Each fixing appeared technical, neutral, and efficient rather than political. Britain framed control as coordination, not manipulation. Thus power hid behind professionalism. Oil eventually joined the system as industrial civilization demanded energy predictability. London benchmarks shaped contracts spanning continents, pipelines, and shipping routes. Energy-producing nations accepted prices they did not fully control. Britain discovered pricing could dominate resources without occupying territory. Commodity exchanges formalized these practices, embedding authority into institutional structures. Membership remained exclusive, limiting participation to trusted financial elites. Transparency existed only within controlled boundaries. Markets appeared open, while remaining carefully managed. Price discovery transformed into price administration under the language of stability. Volatility became undesirable, framed as threat to economic health. London positioned itself as guardian against chaos. The fixer became protector, not manipulator. Producers adapted behavior around London prices rather than local realities. Extraction, production, storage, and release followed benchmarks set thousands of miles away. Local conditions mattered less than global reference numbers. Britain synchronized the world's economic rhythm. Investors relied on these prices to value companies, futures, and entire national economies. Banks lent based on benchmarks, not physical stockpiles. Governments budgeted according to London signals. Price became prophecy. Wars reinforced this authority as governments demanded stable supply chains urgently. London fixed prices to maintain industrial output and social calm. Intervention was justified as necessity. Temporary control became permanent structure. Developing regions had little leverage to challenge pricing authority. They sold raw materials priced externally, buying finished goods priced internally. Value flowed upward through the pricing system. Britain captured margins without extraction. The brilliance of the system lay in its invisibility. Prices looked like numbers, not decisions. Charts replaced negotiations, masking human agreement. Power dissolved into mathematics. Critics accused London of manipulation, but evidence was buried inside technical processes. Fixings were defended as industry consensus, not collusion. Language shielded control, words became barriers. Over time, trust replaced scrutiny. If London said this was the price, it must be fair. No alternative benchmark carried equal credibility. Authority became self-reinforcing. The system survived scandals, reforms, and regulatory pressure. Structures changed names, not functions. Control adapted, not disappeared. Britain learned systems survive by evolving appearances. Commodity pricing shaped inflation, wages, and political stability worldwide. Rising prices triggered unrest, falling prices triggered austerity. Yet causes seemed distant, abstract. London remained insulated. Producers blamed markets, markets blamed forces, forces blamed nobody. Responsibility evaporated, price ruled without ruler. Britain mastered leaderless dominance. As financialization increased, commodities became investment vehicles. Prices moved on speculation rather than supply. London benefited from volume and volatility alike. Control expanded without extraction. Derivatives multiplied influence beyond physical commodities. Paper contracts outweighed real goods many times over. Price became detached from reality. Britain priced expectations, not materials. Today, most commodities are priced through systems rooted in London's legacy. Benchmarks determine billions in daily transfers. Few question their origin. Fewer challenge their power. The world lives under prices decided elsewhere. Not by governments, not by voters, but by institutions. London built this quietly, and once built, it became normal. Yet behind every neutral number lies a choice. Behind every chart lies agreement, and behind every agreement lies power. The question is not who owns commodities, but who prices them. As London's commodity prices gained authority, governments slowly lost direct control over economic outcomes. Inflation targets, wage negotiations, and budget forecasts increasingly depended on external benchmark movements. Ministers reacted to prices rather than shaping them. Power shifted from policy to pricing. When commodity prices rose, politicians blamed global markets beyond their control. When prices fell, austerity followed without questioning benchmark legitimacy. London's numbers dictated domestic consequences worldwide. Accountability dissolved into abstraction. Producers discovered their revenues fluctuated based on decisions made far away. A mine's profitability depended on a morning call in London. A harvest's value hinged on consensus inside financial institutions. Local labour bore global pricing consequences. Energy prices proved especially powerful, influencing transportation, food costs, and industrial competitiveness simultaneously. London benchmarks shaped fuel contracts spanning decades. Countries exporting oil remained price takers, not price setters. Britain controlled leverage without walls. During crises, London's pricing systems prioritized stability over fairness. Prices were smoothed, delayed, or adjusted to prevent panic. Market intervention occurred quietly through technical mechanisms. Control masqueraded as responsibility. Financial institutions profited regardless of price direction. Volatility increased trading volume, fees, and speculative opportunity. Stability protected incumbents. Volatility rewarded insiders. London captured value either way. Attempts to decentralize pricing faced credibility challenges immediately. New benchmarks lacked trust, liquidity, and historical legitimacy. Markets returned to familiar numbers quickly. Authority proved sticky. Regulators introduced reforms after scandals exposed manipulation. Names changed, committees expanded, transparency increased superficially. Yet benchmark centrality remained untouched. Structure survived reform. Commodity-linked nations remained trapped in pricing dependency. Their development plans relied on numbers they did not influence. Economic sovereignty eroded quietly. London priced futures they lived inside. Financialization deepened the system's reach. Pension funds, hedge funds, and index products amplified benchmark importance. Prices moved on expectations rather than extraction. Reality followed speculation. The public never voted on this system. It emerged through technical language and institutional momentum. Complexity discouraged challenge. Power hid in plain sight. Britain never announced control. It simply became the reference everyone used. Once referenced, it became unavoidable. Pricing replaced persuasion. Today, a handful of benchmark prices influence trillions annually. They shape trade balances, currency strength, and political stability. Few know their origins. Fewer understand their consequences. The genius of London's system lies in deniability. Prices appear neutral, mathematical, objective, yet neutrality itself became power. The fixer vanished behind formulas. History shows empires fall when force fails, but systems persist when dependence becomes normal. London mastered this transition. Price replaced empire. The world now negotiates with numbers instead of nations. And those numbers still echo decisions made in British rooms decades ago. Commodity power survived colonial retreat. Pricing outlived politics. If this story changed how you see prices and power, remember, numbers are never as neutral as they appear. Subscribe for more untold histories of money and control, because the next price move may already be rewriting your world.